Hi there and welcome down to the video. If you're here, I'm presuming that you want to get better at golf. So welcome, it's an absolute pleasure to have you along. Now, if you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. We are well on our way to 1 million subscribers and it will be fantastic to have you along for the ride. So all this video is designed for a full swing practice session of 1 hour. That's 60 minutes using 100 golf balls, and the session is going to be broken down into the following sections. So we have the warm-up. Now this is obviously getting your body into the right shape to hit golf shots. We have setting intentions, and this is all about actually understanding what your range session is about. Now we have specific drill work, so how do you make those intentions come to life and embed them within your golf swing? We have a performance section. Now this is all about making it a little bit more game-like and not just hitting balls for the sake of it. And then we have the ability to review the session and transfer it onto the golf course. And this video is brought to you by our good friends at HackMotion. So HackMotion is this amazing monitor which sits on your lead hand, and it gives you direct and dynamic information on your wrist and club face positions. I'll be using this in the video to elucidate some points, but honestly, HackMotion have been an amazing supporter of the channel, and even if I wasn't a partner with them, I would definitely use this product if I was coaching or to improve my own game. So for more information on HackMotion, head down into the description below. And there is a special offer. So if you click the link in the description, you will get 20% off, and that offer runs through Cyber Monday. Okay, point number one. Let's go through our warm-up. It is essential, in my opinion, to get yourself a lovely cup of coffee. And down here at the Beaches driving range, they serve an absolute killer cappuccino. So when you have enough caffeine surging through your system, it is time to start your warm-up. Now listen, I get it, I understand completely that if you go to a driving range, the chances are you don't want to be doing a gymnastics routine before you start hitting golf balls. However, there are some interesting stats on warming up. So the British Journal of Sports Medicine shows that 50%, it's actually just over 50% of all golfers don't bother to warm up before they go play. Now, there hasn't been a study done on how many golfers warm up at a driving range, but I'm willing to bet it is considerably less than that number. Now, what's interesting is if you don't warm up, you will automatically, again, according to the studies, drop 4% in power and even more in accuracy of shots. Now, the reason that I'm saying this, the reason that I'm kind of badgering you with it, I suppose, is if you're practicing and you want to get better, if you don't warm up, realistically, a large amount of the balls that you hit are going to be useless. Now, you might not like it, but this is what peak performance looks like. I am currently the 4,160th best golfer on the planet. That means that from here, all the way that way, until a full circle is completed of the globe, I am one of the best 5,000 golfers on the planet right now, which is probably a shocking indictment of our game in total. But what I'm trying to say is I do know a little bit of what I'm talking about.
And for more professional golf chat and banter from Peter Finch and the team like this.
Come down!
And this.
It's gonna...
Check out the Rough Cut Golf podcast now. Back to the video.
Now, when you're warming up, I would recommend dynamic stretches or dynamic movements, which will get your body ready for the athletic motion, which is a golf swing. What I would try and stay away from is static stretches. Now, these simply lengthen muscles and overall are very good for improving flexibility, but when you're about to perform an activity, dynamic movements are much more better. This is why I don't work for the British Journal of Sports Medicine. Now, I would recommend if you can get access to a personal trainer or someone who actually understands how your body works, you can get a more tailored stretching routine. But just as a quick example, the difference between a dynamic and a static stretch. So let's have a look at the shoulders, say. So shoulder rotation is key to actually hitting good golf shots. Now, a static stretch is simply the hands over your head. So linking your fingers like this, pushing your hands over your head. Now this gets a static stretch up through the shoulders and the upper back. So this is elongating and stretching those muscles out. Now a dynamic movement or a dynamic stretch will be a shoulder rotation. So taking your arm, moving it in a windmill around in this direction, forward and back. Now this is a dynamic movement which will get that joint more ready for the action of hitting a golf ball. So as mentioned, I have my own routine to go through for this, and maybe we'll try and find some videos which are already on YouTube which kind of explain this a little bit more, but we need to get on with the rest of the practice session. But please take some time to really try and figure out what dynamic movements would work for you and to get your body in the best possible shape. A key part of my routine is caffeine. Beautiful caffeine. So after I've got my body moving, it's time to start actually clipping some shots away. So for this section of the warm-up, I'm going to be going up through my wedges, from lob wedge to pitching wedge, just having some half swings, just having some smooth swings to really try and get myself in the right frame of mind, but also to try and get my body in the right positions to start hitting successful shots. For this stage of the practice session, I'm not actively thinking about my swing or my technique. I'm just clipping balls away. So this section of the practice session you can do prior to getting to the driving range, but I want you to just take a couple of minutes now to really think and to really understand what success looks like from your practice session. What are the clear intentions that you're setting? Ultimately, and please remember this, there is one thing that you have to get from your practice session to understand if it's been successful, and that is feedback. Without feedback, without understanding how your practice session has progressed, how do you know if you've improved? What are your benchmarks here? Like, what do you consider a success of this practice session? Now, most people, when they go to a driving range, they're going to be focused on two things. So they're going to be focused either on ball flight. So you might get to a driving range and you're like, I'm slicing it, I'm piping it over there, and it's the most frustrating game in the bloody world. Now, if it's ball flight, that's pretty easy to ascertain. If it starts going that way and you end the session with it going straight, you've probably done something right. Now, if you're working on something you've learned in a lesson or you've seen a video that you're trying to implement to within your own golf swing, the most important thing you can have is this. Now, this is a video of my golf swing. Just look at it. I mean, sometimes you just see poetry in motion. That's not it. But what I'm going to be able to do is, after my lesson that I've had, I'm going to be able to film myself on the driving range so I can check and I can see if I'm hitting the positions that I want. If it's not so much a video orientated session, it's more of a data focused session using a launch monitor. If you have access, is absolutely amazing. But you need to understand that without feedback, you will have no idea that if the work you're putting in at a driving range is actually paying dividends. So what would be the point? Like, if you want to come to the range and just bash balls, that's great. Like, good for you. Good luck. And I'm happy for you that you found a way to live your life. But as far as improving, you need feedback. Okay, so we're moving on to more of the technical and drill phase of the lesson. Now, this is where I'm going to be using my hack motion. So I've been struggling recently, as I get up to the top of the swing, actually dumping out my wrists a little bit too early. So having a casting motion. And then as I come through impact, that's been forcing me to hit the ball up in the air, catch it a little bit fat at times, but also my ball flight's just been absolutely sky high. So I want to be able to control loft at impact a little bit better. Now, what I can do with the hack motion is I can actually monitor my wrist positions as I get to the top and get the feeling as I hold that angle coming into impact, and then I can move through and turn in an action which I already know is pretty good. Now, with the hack motion, I've got this audio feedback, which is very, very useful. Now, you can start to get a sense of this if you use a video, but in reality, it's only something like a hack motion that can allow you to get this sensation. I think I cast it a little bit there. So this is the thing about feedback. It'll give you instant access to that kind of information, and without that type of data, how are you going to know? Like, how are you actually going to know what you're doing differently? So please try and use technology, try and get a lesson, try and understand your swing in more detail. So when you're in this drill phase of the lesson, something to bear in mind is You don't have to hit loads and loads of golf balls. Obviously, we've attributed certain amounts of balls to each section of the practice session. But if you're trying to ingrain a feeling, if you're trying to ingrain a movement, don't be scared and don't be afraid of taking 10 balls and making that last 10 minutes. You know, you can fill the time with a real solid amount of grinding to really try and understand what these feelings are, to really try and maintain them and use the feedback that you have at your disposal. So I'm just going to take a second to introduce you to different types of practices, and I've got definitions written down here to make sure I get my point across absolutely perfectly. So fixed practice is repeating the same skill in a consistent setting. So same club, same target. You know, we're talking about getting your 8-iron here and we're just hitting it to the same target again and again and again. This could also be known as block practice. Now, if you do this, generally speaking, you're really focused on having a specific movement and relating that to a specific result. So 8-iron, for example, you're trying to hit the ball a little bit more with a draw. So you're hitting it towards the same target, trying to get a draw, a draw, a draw, a draw, a draw. Now, variable practice, that's practicing the same skill, but it's moving to different targets, it's moving to different lies. So you're practicing the same thing, but you're doing it in a way which is more accurately representative of when you're going out onto a golf course. Now, distributed practice, this is all about structuring the session, like we are today, where you take breaks. So you could hit 5 8-irons in a row, for example. You take a break and then hit another 5. That's distributed practice. What I would say is if you can link distributed practice and variable practice together, that is going to be the best way to improve. But it's the ability to take practice from here onto the course, which many golfers struggle with, which is why variable practice is so key. So this for me is one of the more exciting parts of a practice session, and it's certainly that bridge between here and the course. So we've gone through our warm-up, we've gone through our drills, we've tried to ingrain the feeling that we want within our swing based on the feedback and the lessons. Now it's time for actually the performance phase. In this section of your practice, we are going to try and gamify. We are going to try and make this feel like it matters, and that is absolutely crucial. Let's say that your performance and your real issue within your game is accuracy. Let's say you've got a real problem with hitting greens. Let's say you've identified within your stats from 150 to 200 yards, I'm kind of trash. I'm just not very good. So then what you would do, so 150 yards, let's say you really start to struggle with your 8-iron, and then the problems persist to your 6, okay? So I'm gonna get my 8-iron out, and I'm gonna pick a specific target here. I'm not gonna move it around too much because I want accuracy in the data that I'm collecting. So you can see here, the 150-yard marker and then the 200-yard marker. I am gonna form a little cone. So from my ball all the way to them, the cone spreads out. So it obviously gets wider as it moves further down the range. I'm going to take 5 golf balls with my 8-iron, and the job here is simple. To try and hit that cone as many times as possible, to try and hit that little section. So I'm going to hit these 5 in a row, Kieran. I'm going to take a step away every time just to reset myself, okay? Oh, that is a beauty to begin with. Oh, that is so deep in the cone. And that is 2 out of 2. Kieran, that's 3 out of 3. Are you getting excited yet? Stay there, stay there. Oh, that is 4 out of 5, right. This is what the whole session is about. All of a sudden, I've got pressure. I'm going for 5 out of 5. I pulled it. I've pulled it. My teachers were right about me. I'm a failure. It depends how you want to really push this. So, for example, I could say to myself, and this is much easier to do with putting, for example, that I am not going to leave the range until I get 5 out of 5. Or 5 out of 10, depending on what your ability is. But just keep the data. That's the key. It's being able to assess what you do. There's a million different ways of doing it. Maybe we should do like a separate video on all the different games that you can play at a driving range. Maybe we'll introduce it into Swing Quest, for example. If you're not subscribed to Swing Quest, by the way, it's our specific coaching channel. It's really good, if I say so myself. But the absolute crucial key is to understand your performance. If you understand your performance, you can really correctly assess how effective that your fixed practice has been and how effective that your lessons have been. And just think of this, Kieran, just think of hitting 5 in a row, and then you're out on the golf course, you've got your 8 iron, and you're like, I remember last night. I remember how good I was. And then you're out there like, and that is your perfect range session. It doesn't quite end there, because for your last 10 minutes, I want you to do something pretty specific that we just touched upon. This is all about reflection. It's all about transfer. It's all about understanding what has happened within the session to correctly assess what went right, what went wrong, the feelings that you were having, what you weren't happy with, and build a bit of a plan as far as what to do next time. You know, we know so much more about the golf swing and so much more about golfers now than we used to. And you could have an effective 20-ball, 20-minute session that could do you more good than staying here for hours and hours and hours of beating balls. It's a bit counterintuitive, but it doesn't mean it's not true. Now, what I'll do here is I'll just display all those sections of the practice session there. So you can take a screenshot if you really want, and how I broke them down, and then with a few suggestions of the games that you can play. All these things contribute to giving you the best possible practice session in that 60 minutes. So guys, huge thank you for watching. It's been great to be down here at the beaches. Really, really enjoyed ourselves. Shout out to Hack Motion for partnering with the channel. Okay, good. That has been a solid day's work there. I think it's time to get another coffee and curl up in front of the fire with a good book.